be shy. Well, Jimmy, you have quite a relationship with National Geographic. Your latest film, Wildlife, is with National Geographic, so was Free Solo, of course. How did this series come about? Oh, you need a mic.
Well, we actually, I've been thinking about the series for quite some time. A series that dove deeper into the world that we inhabit in terms of the adventure, expedition, climbing, kayaking, snowboarding world, because I felt like, especially these days, you see these 30-second clips of people doing all these wild, adventures, and it's all easy and pretty and beautiful, and it didn't feel like people really understood what was behind it all and what the stakes really meant. And when you understand the stakes, hopefully you really understand the passion behind it, because people live with these intense decisions, but they understand what the stakes are, and they still do it, and that to me is true passion. So I just wanted to give more context to the world, and so we brought it to National Geographic, brought Pagan on, who's incredible, and dove into it.
Conrad, of course, both you and Jimmy know so much the incredible risks involved, and we know that you've lost people very close to you. And in the documentary Torn, of course, we hear about the loss of your great friend Alex Lowe, and that is referred to in episode 4. So you have been willing to open up very personal aspects of your life, and here we see that again in episode 4. But what is that like to see this terrifying moment for you to experience that again, in a sense?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I wouldn't trust that story than anyone other than Jimmy that it was there. But yeah, eventually it was, I don't know, I'm kind of a keep to myself type of fellow, keep things tight. But then to share everything via Torn, and then the 4th episode here was, as Jimmy pointed out, that there's the other side of what we see. It's not just the glorious moments. There's a lot of risk that's associated with this.
And I think it's so interesting what Jimmy just said, and I hadn't thought about it. It was sort of the TikTok generation, and 50 clips of that. It was things going on, but is that a little bit frustrating to you to see these great highlight reels that maybe in some cases induce people to do very risky things that they shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, we need to slow down in life. If you're experiencing life in 15 seconds with a little music and somebody who got 720 off the cliff, I mean, we need to slow down. When you go climbing, you're this constant dialogue with yourself and gravity, like don't make a mistake, don't get hurt, and learning about that is really good. But if you're just seeing it on your handheld computer, it's kind of vacuous. It's not the real thing.
Oh, that's an excellent point. And Peg, I'm curious about the approach to storytelling, which I found very interesting. I don't know if it's every single episode, it might be, but you essentially begin with disaster or often something very wrong happening, and then you dial back. But it's an interesting approach to shaping the stories.
Jimmy has a lot of feelings about that, so I'll follow up on that in a minute. Because we came to the series evolved, as all series do. Like, my favorite part about making series, especially with someone like Jimmy, is it's a journey for me to figure out how to best tell the stories, and I get to learn it every time. But I just wanted to say, in terms of making the series, Jimmy really opened up his Rolodex. These are his people. These are his very close friends, and many of them wouldn't have trusted the story to anyone else. And I just got to go along for the ride, but it was humbling and moving to hear their stories. And we never thought about it as like an adventure sports show or an adrenaline show. I don't do any of these sports. So I was always looking for the human story, and we were just very moved. Like when Conrad shared his stories with us, the whole crew, we were also moved that he was able to be that authentic. Because nowadays, I think athletes are pushed to be a brand, and they're pushed to have certain messages, and he was a human being. And that was all because Jimmy opened. He trusted us, and his friends trusted him, so that was exciting. Certainly there was a push at the beginning to make the series about disasters. And that was sort of less interesting to us. It's an easy way to get people's attention. So some of the other episodes were, what was our phrase, Jimmy? It was, well, like Alex's, it was about kind of mastery and different ways. So sometimes it was near disaster, and sometimes it was about sort of mastering something. And we didn't want it to just be about disasters, if that makes sense. And then the one last thing I'll say is when they sort of told me about the show, and again, I don't do any sports. I mean, a little bit, but it's also like you just learn context. Like Jimmy, when we were interviewing him, he'd be like, "I was at the climbing gym for 4 hours." Like, just even if you think you do sports around these people, you don't. But when they pitched it to me, it was during the pandemic. And they, Jimmy and Shai and the head of their company, Anna, were talking about how people were complaining about being stuck in their house. And Jimmy was like, Conrad and I were on the side of a mountain for 12 days in a tent this big. So part of it was like letting people into the lessons they had learned, because it was a pandemic-inspired show. And like the things, when life is on the line, the things you learn and what matters.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to imply that it's sensationalistic or whatever, but just a storytelling, it's a classic beginning and maybe a race, essentially. Something happens, we go back and see. And it's all about the lessons learned. Personal growth, and in some cases, reevaluation. So I think that's the undertow that pulls you through narratively. Anyway,
I think that's true. I mean, I think one of the things I love about the community of friends and peers that I have is that when your mortality is at stake, you're constantly reevaluating, you're constantly assessing what you're doing, and you're constantly assessing your intention, because it's not like you just go out there every day thoughtlessly and just do it. It's intentional. And that's what I think is really important for people to understand, is that it looks like, oh, they're just taking risks, and so many of our friends and people in the community are so intentional about what they do every day. And that's something I think that's really special and important in how, I want to live my life. But that is, I think a thread is that intentionality and that reevaluation, constant reevaluation of what am I doing with my life? Is this important? Does it give it meaning? Does it give it purpose?
Conrad, I wonder if you and Jimmy could talk about the sublime. And I feel like it's sort of it's kind of an antique term from philosophy. Like, we don't hear people talk about the sublime anymore. We hear them talk about the ridiculous. And there's a lot of that in the world. But you two, I was very struck by that you are encountering the sublime in a way that we as an audience, to some degree, can through the visuals. But that's quite a profound thing. You are in touch with something elemental about the planet. Any thoughts on that?
Thank you, Jimmy. So, the beauty of what we do, so Jimmy and I have a goal of climbing a mountain, Bogota, which was in Antarctica, and it's an intrinsic reward. We got a few pictures up there, but there's nothing there. You just come back down. But in the process of that, we form a level of communication that is unique and rare in this day and age. So most of our recreation, a large portion of it, is we create time, space, rules, judges, and we pit human against human. There's always a winner, there's always a loser. It's great, we love sports, but what we do is we connect to each other and we have to support each other. And that level of connectivity is what makes climbing special. And then our climbing partners and our adventure partners that we do these things with, that we get to see each other and you're like, wow, tepid tea is really good. After sitting in Portland for 12 days. It just changes your perspective on it. And that, to me, that the way that we interact with our fellow humans in these situations is the meaning that I get from climbing.
Pagan, I wonder if you can talk about, you alluded to how, Jimmy's Rolodex and picking some of the stories, but an important feature of it, I think, is the gender balance. In the series is one episode devoted to Angel Collins, and is a skier, and Justine Dupont, who's a surfer, also on 100-foot wave, which is a terrific series. So there is balance here. It's not just, a kind of testosterone fueled series in a sense.
Yes, and there's also Sarah Landry in one, who is a polar explorer, another thing I will never do. But some of the episodes I'd be like, yeah, I'd like to do that. And then whenever I watched hers, which is like beyond the cold, I was like, no. But she's amazing, and her parents, her mom, it's really interesting, the dynamic with her. Her mom, went across Antarctica and just did all this amazing exploration, and her dad said he was along for the ride. And her daughter is also an incredible athlete, and her daughter's partner is actually, Boomer is well known. So, kind of what we learned, here's the other thing I've learned about this say is, I don't want to say it's genetic, but if you're Jimmy Chin, your kids are gonna do what you do, like we all do, and so Travis, his mom, was an amazing skier, and Sarah saw her parents doing this stuff. Justine's father got her out surfing very early. Angel's father was ski patrol. And, because you keep asking yourself, Jimmy just would always emphasize to me, he's like, people think Alex is just preternaturally talented, but they don't understand how hard he works. And he said, I want people to understand intentionality and the work that goes into it.
Referring to Alex Honnold here.
Yes.
First episode, yeah.
Who, as the first episode. So, we really wanted to kind of explore some of the choices in the discipline, and then in the casting, I personally wanted my daughters to see women doing cool stuff. And it was interesting to see how in many of these cases the women were the lead. Like Sarah's a badass, and she and her Boomer go all over the place. So, and Justine, this is a good episode, Justine's boyfriend just follows her all over the world. He won an award, but he, I don't know all the terms, I'll do it wrong, drives a jet ski or something, coordinates.
Yeah, they tow him out to the big wave.
Yes. But and he told us, he said, my job is to make Justine, to help her do as much as possible. And I like to flip things and, to see that. And it was very interesting with Angel. While we were filming, she decided to retire. So she's a skier, and her episode is she falls maybe 100, I don't know, some feet down a mountain, and had reevaluated her life after
1,000
that.
feet or so.
Yeah. This is why you have other fact checkers. So, but she was reevaluating her life, and she had been pushed by her parents a bit to go into skiing and prepare for the Olympics, and her whole life had been organized about that one goal, and she decided to retire and is now, of course, these people I've learned, everything is pretty extreme. I think she's sailing the world with her boyfriend. But it was really
taking it easy.
Yes. And that's one other thing. I did try to learn stuff as a parent. I tried to pay attention, and I tried to learn from Jimmy, because it's, not every day someone who's a master photographer, climber, skier, filmmaker. And I say that with all honesty, I learned a lot from him. But intentionality is the word he would use over and over. And I also learned these athletes make their life about one thing. It is very constructed around one thing. And that choice means you can achieve mastery with the work, but it means a lot gets left behind. And so for Angel, when she reevaluated, she missed, going to the prom and hanging out with her friends. So, and And it was interesting, the women talked about different things in terms of their choices than the men. So I'm very proud that we got to get 3, and they're also top of their, it wasn't like, oh, gender casting, like they're 3 badass women.
Absolutely. Conrad and Jimmy, I wonder if you can talk about the importance of mentorship in what you do. Conrad, of course, is one of your mentors, Jimmy, and Conrad, it was Mug Stump, who was one of your mentors. It seems to be very much part of the ethos, and not just ethos, like, wow, it's good, but critical to learning how to manage risk, how to, have your head on your shoulders in these very, very risky environments.
I mean, I think mentorship is important in all walks of life and professions and careers. Certainly for me, the thing I'm most grateful for in my career is certainly mentors. They say experience is what you get right after you need it. And with a mentor, you get some of that experience before you need it. And that really not only helps accelerate your knowledge and the pace of, moving forward in your respective field, but it's what allows you the confidence and, the support you need to really try things and push yourself. I think in Meru, mentorship was a huge part of the story because in climbing, and like I said, I think this is across all fields and careers, but from my personal experience, climbing, you don't go to school for climbing. You learn from your mentors. And Conrad always talks about how it's like a ball of knowledge. He had Mug Stump, his mentor, who was one of the great legendary climbers of his time, and his 35 or 40 years of experience that he passed to Conrad, and Conrad refines and refines and refines with his 30 years of experience, and then he hands it to you. And I mean, that's so much information and so much knowledge and so much wisdom. And it's not just technical, right? It's like how you tackle everything from sponsorships to how do you pace your career, and what are the choices that you want to make in your career, and these are some of the outcomes that we've seen before, and those are just really, really important to help keep you on track.
Conrad, your thoughts about that, because I think it is really an important issue that there's mentorship in every field in a way, but it's very ad hoc, I think, in our society, and some people benefit from it, and a lot of people don't, and it's not built into our society in the way that maybe it should be, and yet in the world that you inhabit, it does seem to be foundational.
When you start climbing, quite literally, you have to have someone show you the ropes. So we use that as a trope, but climbing is very technical. There's a lot of different aspects that go into it. You're dealing with fear, but you're also very complex systems and being organized and mentoring with that. In mentoring, it can be a long-term thing. My mentor was with me for years, and Jimmy and I, in a sense, and that it goes on, but it can also be a single moment where you meet someone and you're like, wow, you're a great cartoonist. You should really pursue this. And the youngster might not think they're a great cartoonist, but you affirmed where they are. And so it can be an ongoing long-term thing, but also a short-term thing. And it comes down to the type of person. If you're a type of person that shares and wants to see people succeed, you will become a great mentor. You've probably been mentored. But if you're a hoarder and you don't want, you're like, I want it for me, then you probably didn't have a mentor that was given to you, and it would be difficult for you to do that. So the more that we can encourage this in society, the healthier and happier, hopefully, we will be.
Building off of that, Jimmy, on the episodes, you say when you're young, you feel pretty invincible. And I just wondered about your journey. We see in a later episode of this, I mean, it's terrifying to even think about, but you really came so close to losing your life in an avalanche in the Grand Tetons in Wyoming. But how you have changed over time.
I'm not sure I've evolved much. I was just in Yosemite yesterday. I think I've talked there, but I just drove into the valley the day before, and I saw El Cap. I pulled up into the meadows under El Cap for probably the 1000th time, and that excitement of just seeing that stone and how excited I am to climb or ski or be in the mountains is as strong or stronger than it's ever been. And that's a good anchor for me in how I move through the world, because I know I have that thing that's very real. And so the risk aspect of it, certainly in your 20s, and when you're younger, you don't have the view of the world that can inform the decisions that I might make now. But the passion is still the same. And, I think sometimes it's remarkable anybody makes it through their 20s. There is that sense of immortality and invincibility, and I think that's true for a lot of people. I think the game changer is probably when you have children and you have to reevaluate the calculus of risk for yourself. A lot of people ask me, if it's changed much, and I would say that it certainly changed it, but the calculus has always been the same in some senses, which is to come back alive and to be safe and to live this life, but be very thoughtful and conscientious of what you're doing. And the thought has always been for me that there has to be some risk in life. And I think our good friend and mentor, I think of it often, he said it to me early in my career, and said, this John Krakauer, the author, he said to me, there are two great risks in life: risking too much and risking too little. And I've always thought there's a cost to not taking risks too. So
Yeah, I think it means the thin air, obviously classic. Well, you gentlemen have been in the thin air on Everest and made it up there, which is extraordinary. Pagan, in a sense, you're a proxy for the audience, because this is not something you do and your everyday life. But what lessons, if any, have you drawn from your participating in the series and getting to immersing yourself in these stories?
I was also very moved by the community. I really saw with all of them, like the love they have for each other, especially the men. Jeremy Jones, who's in Jimmy's episode, when we were interviewing him, they had him aside that him and Jimmy get together, and I think they do like a climb or a ski or something at Christmas, a ski maybe? Right. Yeah. I'm not being facetious, I just got a little confused. But they're really bonded to each other in the most beautiful way that we don't see nowadays. And I don't want to be simplistic about it, but there is that element of like intense experiences, especially once at war or something else. The bonding is so strong, and I saw just amazing bonding from Jimmy and his friends, like real love and support for each other that moved me. And that I know is ongoing, like when Angel announced she was going to lead the North Face, Jimmy said the whole North Face team rallied behind her and they had her back. And I think we all need community, and so a lot of these sports, some of them are competitive, just skiing is obviously in a competitive amazing growth experience. So I was moved and kind of thought, what am I doing where I have a community? That's what I thought. I was like, when filmmaking is a community, I do love that aspects of filmmaking, but I, just kind of thought, okay, what else am I doing in life where I have a chance to have these really peak experiences with other people that I love and respect. And a couple other things, I guess. The story of Jimmy and Conrad, they're like ESP with each other, kind of how they communicate with each other was just really amazing to me. And even after the heart attack, like, I sort of said to them, well, how did you guys talk to each other? And there was some sort of conversation of, are you okay to go? Yes, I am. Like, just to have a relationship with someone like that over the years where so much doesn't need to be said was kind of beautiful to me. And then, like I said, just intentionality in life. Like, whatever you're doing, know why you're doing it. And go in, whole hog, like really commit. That's kind of what I took away, like a self-actualized life is not an accident. It's something that you must commit to, So I was, and also just get outside. Get outside. Right? That was kind of it.
Just the last question, Jimmy. I guess this is a question about your Rolodex, but how's the Rolodex and is there a season 2 available for other people you know?
We're thinking about a slightly different format for it, but I mean, we have the list is long, and ultimately, the way that we kind of, I guess you'd say, cast this series is they were and are people that I find deeply inspiring. They're the best of the best that I learn from, and that I admire. So that I'm very grateful that I have that Rolodex of people to be inspired by.
Let's thank our panel, Conrad, Jimmy, and Pagan.